Okay, let's see question number 20 የኛው ጥያቄም 2011 የወጣ ጥያቄ ነው። ምንድነው የምለው ጥያቄ two cars, car A and car B are moving along the straight road. The distance covered by each car with respect to the time graph as shown below. The graph of car A, graph of car B. Which one of the following statement is correct about their motions? Says which one of the following statement is correct about their motions? Let's see. We know that the motions, it may be uniform, non-uniform, uniform acceleration motions, or generally the motion can represent by a graph or the graphical representation of motions. Here the motion of two cars, a car A and a car B, is given by graph here. Let's see. For car A, it moved 3 meter. Car A moved 30 meter in 1 second and 60 meters in 2 seconds. Find the speed of this car at this point and at this point. If they are equal, the motion of this car is uniform. If they are not equal, the motion of this car is not uniform. That means non-uniform. Here also for car B, find the speed is at each instant point and compare them. If you get equal speeds, the motion of this car is uniform. If they are not equal, it is a non-uniform motions. Listen, for car A, the slope of a graph gives a slope of graph. That means the graph of distance time graph or distance against time graph gives that the slope of the graph of distance time graph gives the average velocity or average speed of the motion. Average speed of the motion is given by the slope of the graph. The slope of the graph, which is the graph of distance against time graph, which is equals to final distance minus initial distances over final time over initial time. Final distance minus initial distance over final time minus initial time, then which is equals to final distance in 60 meter minus initially the car is start its motion from rest. We say that 0 meter over the car finally stops its motion at 2 seconds. 2 seconds minus initially, since it starts from rest, 0 seconds. So the slope or the average speed of this car is the slope of the distance against time graph is equal to the average speed of this motion. If you subtract this one, you get 60 meter over 2 seconds, and it gives 30 meter per second. This is the slope of a distance time graph, which is equals to the slope of a distance against time graph gives always the average speed of the motion. So the speed of car A is equals to 30 meter per second. And for car B, now also you find the slope of this graph, and then the slope of the graph is equal to the average speed. Slope of the graph, which is distance against time, which is equals to final distance minus initial distance over final time minus initial time. This gives that the final distance is 40 meter minus it starts its motion from rest 0 meter over 2 seconds minus 0 seconds. Then you get that 40 minus 0 is 40 over 2 minus 0 is 2. So finally you get that 20 meters per second. This is the slope of the distance time graph, which is equals to the average speed of car B. The average speed of a car B. That means the slope of the distance time graph always gives the speed or the average speed of the motions. Then comparing the speed of car A and the car B on the statement, it says that which statement is correct. Let's comparing them. The average speed of car A is 30 meters per second and the average speed of car B is 20 meters per second, and also find that the speed at instant points for two cars. Listen, for car A, if we find that the speed at this point is speed of car A at point, let's assume that this point is point I and this point is point J. The speed of this car A at point I is given by speed is equals to distance over time. At this point is the speed of car A is equals to, take at point I the distance is 60 meters over here. At point I the time it takes for this car A is 2 seconds over 2 seconds. This gives 30 meters per second. And also find at point J the speed of a car of A at point J is equals to the distance at this point 30 meters time 1 second. 30 meters over 1 second. This is also gives 30 meters per second. This implies that the motion of car A is uniform motion. It implies that the motion of car A is a uniform motion. We say that the motion is uniform if it have a constant speed at every time interval or at every instant time. If the speed of the motion is identical or the same, we say the motion is uniform motion. Or from the graphical representation of the motions, if the graph of distance against time graph plotted as a straight line, that motion is called uniform motion. If the distance against time graph is plotted as straight, the motion is uniform motion. For B also, the distance time graph is plotted straight and finds the instant speed is, at this point if you take the speed that this point A, the distance is 20 meters, the time is 1, 20 divided by 1 is 20 meters per second. If you take point B, assumptions at point B, the distance is 40 meters, the time is 2 seconds, the speed at this point is also 40 meters divided for 2 seconds, it is 20 meters per second. This is also the motion of car B is also uniform motion. ምንድነው ጥያቄያችን? የተሰጡ ስቴትመንቶች አሉ። ከነዚህ ስብስብ ከአራቱ ስብስብ ውስጥ ትክክለኛ የሆነ የትኛው ነው የተባልነው። ስለዚህ መጀመሪያ ምንድነው የምናደርገው? የሁለቱ ካሮች ወይ ደግሞ የሁለቱ መኪናዎችን ፍጥነት ፈልገን ለምሳሌ ለኤ ስንፈልግ በግራፍ ከተሰጠ አንድ እንቅስቃሴ ከግራፍ ላይ የምናገኘው ስሎፕ ከአቨሬጅ ስፒድ ጋር እኩል ነው። ይሄንን ዩኒፎርም ሞሽን እና ዩኒፎርም አክሰለሬሽን ሞሽን ስር ግራፊካሊ እንዴት እንደምንገልጻቸው ከግራፉ ላይ ተነስተን ስሎፕ ስንፈልግ ምን እንደምንሰጠን ተምረናል። የግራፉ ስሎፕ የምን ግራፍ ከሆነ የዲስታንስ ታይም ግራፍ ከሆነ አቨሬጅ ስፒድ ይሰጠናል። ከዛ ላይ ተነስተን የካር ኤ አገኘን፣ የቢንም እንደዛው ፕላስ ደግሞ በእያንዳንዱ ወይ ደግሞ ኢንስታንት የሆኑ ፖይንቶችን ወስደን ፍጥነት ስንፈልግ አሁን የእንቅስቃሴው ተመሳሳይ የሆነ ፍጥነት ካገኘን ዩኒፎርም ሞሽን ነው እንቅስቃሴ። እያንዳንዱ ፖይንት ላይ ስንፈልግ ተመሳሳይ የሆነ ፍጥነት አግኝተናል ለኤ ለቢ። በዚህ መሰረት ይህንን ኮንሰፕት ይዘን ወደ ጥያቄው ስንመጣ ኤ ላይ car A is a uniform motion with greater speed than car B, it says that the motion of car A is uniform and its average speed is 30 meters per second. For B, a car B's motion is also a uniform motion and its average speed is 20 meters per second. So, equation A is true or correct. If you see B, car A is a non-uniform motion. No, the motion of car A is uniform. So it says non-uniform. We make it, or the statement is wrong. If we see the C, car B is uniform motion with greater speed. The motion is a uniform motion, but while we comparing their average speed is, the average speed of car B is not greater than the average speed of car A. Since it is less than, C is also wrong. If we see D, car B is non-uniform. It says no, the motion of two cars is a uniform motion. Our answer is A, the average speed of two cars. The motion of two cars is uniform and the speed of car A is greater than the speed of car